Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Hamilton, CEO and co-founder of Appear on Zoe. We're continuing today with our epigenetic performance series, and I have a special guest from across the pond, Geeta Sidhu-Robb. Geeta, I'm so excited to have you here. I'll tell you about Geeta in just a small way, because I could never get to everything that's so wonderful about you. But you're a mother, an author, a lawyer, right? A politician, an inspirational speaker, a women's consciousness sort of leadership teacher, and so many more other things, but CEO and co-founder of Nosh Detox. We can just see that you cross so many different lanes. And so today we're going to discuss really raising your vibration for a high performance living. And so please, thank you so much for being here, and tell us a little more. Let's talk about complex systems ascension. Let's talk about that.
Thank you so much for having me, Mecca. I'm really grateful for the ability to hang out with you. The thing is that everything that we do, everything that we are, everywhere that we go, what we take with us is essentially our spirituality and our purpose, and the universe within us is what we take. And I've spent a lot of time working on physicality of it, the food and the detoxing and the cleansing. And the thing that I learned was that in order to make my vibration go higher, what I had to do was to clean up my physical systems, remove obstacles from my kind of mental, emotional systems, and then I could step onto a much different vibrational level in terms of my spiritual awareness. And I found that really interesting because I was brought up Sikh, and it's kind of like a very chill religion. We kind of do, a book fell on my head, and I was like, I'll start reading Conversations with God, and I evolved down this process. But one of the things that I found really interesting is that in the old days, we used to be able to raise our vibration in just one thing. Mm-hmm. So we became a master at one thing. So you have the psychic who's actually massively obese, or you have the guru who has never worked out and eats really, really badly. And you would have people that would be very, very good at one thing, and they were deeply spiritual, but they ascended one column, as it were. Mm-hmm. And I think that where we are now, that's no longer possible. Actually, what we have to do now is we have to ascend on all of our columns in order for our structure to be stable enough to raise our vibration and first step up and lead the world, which is what is needed.
And I love that you say that, because you watch all around you, people recognizing that there is a need for new systems, right? That the sort of, at least in the medical side, the reductionistic way that we've looked at the human system makes zero sense. We're not complicated, we're complex. Yeah. And so as we all move more into the ability to think through the complexity thinking and complexity sciences lens, we recognize that this stove piping, as you referred to, the one mastery that you have, is still available. It's not our capacity, right? And so,
yeah, I also don't think it's available in the same way anymore. I actually think that what we've done is we've drawn a line on that. Yeah. What has happened is that this is the line visible. What we're doing is that the person, the organization, the energy that wants to only focus in one place without view to the consequences of that focus is going to suffer a diminution of everything. Exposure, interest, energy, and it's going to get cut off at the source. That's what we're in the middle of.
That is so interesting. And I must say, I didn't see that. And yet when you point it out, I know that to be true, because I've been hearing from people who had very advanced skill sets in certain lanes, and they're saying something's up. I can't get to the same information I used to get to. Oh, that's so interesting. Would you go a little more into that?
Yeah, look at someone like you, right? So if you look at someone like you, you're really conscious of your physical, your emotional, your mental health. Now you will find you're flaring to go. You're just racing through it and expanding at a space of knots, at a speed of knots. Whereas people who aren't finding that are really struggling because they were staying in their lane, but their lane is gone. Think about it. Our lanes have all gone. So now the only thing that you've got is the person that comes up. And if the person who's coming up is not being conscious of their mental and physical and emotional health, they're going to be stuck until they are. It's the way I see it is kind of like, I call it a pellet system, because the way I see it in my mind is that you have these pillars on which you rest as a soul, and that those pillars, the soul has a stronger foundation if the pillars are stronger and even and well built. And so it means that your physical body, you should completely be detoxing, completely be cleansing, because it cleans you up. And it makes you're able to then house the change that you're trying to incorporate, right? But if your body doesn't feel strong, your mind doesn't feel safe to make that change happen. And actually, it isn't going to happen. Not in this day and age. Once you've got that there, you then get to the stage where you're like, okay, I need to get out of my mind and then get my mind stable. And that becomes the other pillar. Because once you've got your mind stable and your body stable, your emotions can do what they're meant to do. They are the radio frequency finder of your vibration. I'm doing this because it's like a radio. You know, when you tilt the radio to find the frequency, that's what your emotion does.
I really love that window of perception, because, of course, the physicality is what you perceive through, right? And your past, your patterns, the cultural editors informing what we were told to believe, that we simply accepted in that concrete state of programming, as a child. The emotional flow, once those two things are stable, is interesting to me, because if you look at emotions on the spectrum of contracted versus expanded, or so say anger versus happiness, or anger versus love, they're very, very different in the way they feel. They're different in the way they show up in the body. Can you talk a little bit more about how the emotions flow through the system once it's stable in the physiological and the mental realms?
So that's one of the most painful parts, but it's one of the most rewarding parts, because what we do is we almost always, until we start to clean and clear, come from our childhood emotions. Because we create dashboards within ourselves when we're children. And if you were 3 years old and a redhead came and hit you on the head and took your teddy bear away, there is a dashboard that says redhead dangerous. So you sit there and you go, I just don't like redheaded men. I don't know why, but I just don't like them. Your inner dashboard goes, danger, danger. We all have this. And we have that dashboard set up for every single eventuality that we've hit. So if you never move your emotions past that place, your emotions are sitting in lockdown, guarded in panic, danger, be afraid. Okay, that's very constrictive, and it sits in the body. So when you do a cleanse, a lot of these base emotions are pushed out of the system, and you can start to actually move emotions so that you can feel cleaner, higher emotions like happiness, love, and actually the absence of fear is an extremely high emotion.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So tell me kind of vibrationally what happens. So if I feared for my life, right? And I tied it to, like you said, very specific things. And then that fear then created more and more. What I'm seeing in my mind is sort of a scaffolding of my psyche. And I go along life, I create an experience so that I can bump into what I can't really see, right, through the experience, so that I can then work with it to bring it into resolution, or maybe back into neutral. I'm not sure how you would define that. But is that how we bump into things in life based on the program?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. In that, when you are, what you're doing is you're not hitting the scaffolding, you're operating from within the scaffolding. Okay. So, and so you're in the scaffolding and you've got this antenna going out of your head, which is a simplistic way to do it, but it's absolutely accurate and perfect. You have an antenna going out of your head. And when you're in fear, the universe sits there and feels, I've got like this thing going above my head. And the universe goes, oh, you're in fear. Okay, great. I will love you. I will download as much fear as you want. So the universe is downloading stuff for you to justify that fear again and again and again. But if you change and you do it, say you do a detox, or say you, I mean, I would say that, but I am a big fan of them, it must be said, because they're just a fast jump start to like another vibrational level. Say I don't know, you go and get a healing and you give up your fear of the dark. So you jump start that thing. What then happens is your antenna in that place, your scaffolding goes wider and your antenna can go into a higher realm, and the universe can download for you a different experience. Now, you can't ground that experience and constantly keep it until you get rid of what I call guardians at the gate.
Okay.
Every time you think, oh, I'm never doing that. Oh, I'm never eating that. Oh my God, oysters just, oh, redheads, whatever it is. every single one of them, you put a guardian at the gate going, watch, please stop me from doing that. You know, and you think, oh yeah, I remember, I don't do that. That's your guardian coming up and going, oh, don't do it. So when you want to shift your energy, and ultimately all we are here to do is to remove as many obstacles as possible. So when you can see this is the basis of my fear, almost the packaging around that fear falls apart and you can release that emotion and you've moved on. You don't need to do anything more complicated than that.
So it's the awareness hitting it.
The awareness yeah. Like anybody who comes in with problems with their gut has had a critical parent. They've just had a critical parent. You see it in their energy again and again and again, a sharp parent. And so they have the fear in the gut every time the parent speaks. So you kind of do that thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The second step in that is to say, okay, can I call it all the guardians about this emotion? Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for protecting me. I'm good now. And emotionally, can you feel that sense of relief? It kind of, and then they can all go because their job's not there anymore. Does that make sense? Is that too esoteric? Because that's
no, it's so amazing, because if one can take their mind to go, okay, let's work with this guardian concept. What guardians did I put in place to keep me safe or to keep me from getting out of control? Like with alcohol, for instance, you know, the sort of what you're saying is that voice that says you're drinking too much. Don't drink that much. It's too much. You're going to get out of control. So that could be a guardian that I actually put in so that I wouldn't drink myself silly and do crazy things.
Now, and so the temptation, and then because we have guardians that are cultural, we have guardians that are from the gender, we have guardians that are maternal, paternal, because we're all facets of a diamond. So that's why when you think, oh my God, I thought we dealt with this stuff, right, and it comes back again. What you've done is missed one of the facets. And so if you can clean and clear the facets, you're cleaning and clearing that issue much more completely, you know?
But do you look for other areas in your life that are reflecting somewhat of a similar guardian energy?
No, I go, I don't, because I'm kind of like, I'm always like, how fast can I get through this? So,
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is now I'm thinking, oh, have I cleared everything? And I can feel that in my solar plexus. So my solar plexus is where I host my doubt. And I'm like, is it my doubt or is it actually doubt that I have collected? So what I would do now is I would be like, okay, I'll pull up all my guardians that make me doubt myself and say, there is no need to doubt myself. I am complete and whole and I'm pure energy. So why do I need to doubt myself? So I'll pull out all my guardians that are there to keep me safe, which they're not. They're keeping me small.
Right.
This safe versus small. And then I'll be like, thank you, all the guardians. And I'll see all my guardians. I'll be like, thank you for everything you've done. We're done. You can go now. And then they go. And then you've got a wider expanse instantly.
And so you clearly have a knowing that you are in charge of your energy, right?
I am energy.
Right. And so what about for people who don't really completely understand at this same level, how do they work their way gently into more of a trust of self that this sovereign being has control over, my energy field through the choices I make?
You know, the thing is, you don't have to make all the choices. You have to make one choice, and that one choice is the starting point. And that's why, for me, it comes down to the physical. When you say, I mean, look at where we are now, right? Without any physical health, you can achieve nothing. So the day you decide, you just have to make one decision. The day you decide to show up as your physical best, the universe is like, thank you, and comes swooshing in to help you with the rest. And oh my God, it's brutal if you don't pay attention. It is deeply brutal. That's when stuff goes, like, look what's happening now. Mother Earth is like, I told you to pay attention and you didn't. And here's what, there's that kind of thing. So you just can't stop it. You just have to start it. Once you start it, you're absolutely on a slide and it is going. Just get out the way. It is a beautiful thing that you just have a momentum. And in this day and age, every small thing you get rid of, it will pay you massive dividends because of the way the energy is shifting. Just start physical. Think, I will eat a vegetable today. I will eat fruit today. And that's already, you're starting on that process.
Yeah, and that's at Apeiron, that's, the way we look at it is it fundamentally, your physicality is not optimized. Homeostasis, at least at a minimum, right? Where everything is working in its intelligent design. But if it's not there, you're in an unbalanced state, and things, you tend to get more buffeted about by life as opposed to simply living an effortless life, right?
You can't house your change. You just can't house your change. If you can do anything you want, but I always ask somebody, the last time you were sick, was it easy to learn something new? If it wasn't, you need to understand that the connection between your mind and your body is such that if you cannot house your change, your mind will not allow that change. That's why when you look at stuff where they deal mentally only, there is no point. If you can't house your change, your body will not, your mind won't allow that change to take hold and to ground. It has nowhere to ground.
Yeah, and that's that speaks to the what we say consciousness seekers who still believe that their physicality means nothing. And you see, like I think it's maybe Amma, the healing state, where when she's in that field of energy, she doesn't have diabetes. She doesn't have to deal with her diabetes. But when she's right over here in like the physicality of this existence, it's pretty significant.
Yeah. And it's also, that's with schizophrenics. They will have different personas, and schizophrenics will have different ailments and lack of ailments. So that is us making choices about how we want to show up. My goal, my desire when I wake up every day of every moment of my life is, how can I use my energy to help, to serve, and to lead? It's absolutely, but I can't do any of those things if I'm not showing up 100% always at my most powerful. But I can't house power. Like there's times when you fry yourself and you end up in bed and you can't move. When you do big shifts in energy, you will end up just frying yourself because you downloaded a lot of energy and you're just like, oh my God, and you're in bed for like a day and you wake up after then you're like, oh, I'm good. Or you eat something, or you get a hangover, something that just puts you down, and you're like, what? I've eaten that before. Why now? Your body just needs you to conk out. That's a very British phrase. Conk out. It's very polite, but and then you adjust everything. You carry the light, you carry the energy, and then you can go forward the next day. Because also the thing with energy is higher energy always converts lower energy. Always. It's not like water where it finds its lowest level. It's actually the exact opposite. So when you have a higher energy, wherever you go, you're picking and cleaning everybody's energy around you. So you need to be strong enough, like a net, to manage that.
And I liken that to the nervous system. So when you have a meeting and everybody's on this like really clear and coherent sort of stream, everybody knows what's going on, and then all of a sudden one person drops what I call a confusion bomb into the room, and it disrupts the energy because the others may not have as stable a nervous system process, and now everything's moving in the chaos lane instead of in in that clear stream. And so I think, what I tell people is, I feel like if we talk at the genetic, the ATP level, we go all the way down to the cell. I think it's somewhat of what you were referring to as an impedance mismatch. So you've got this really big stream of energy coming in, and the physical structure, the ATP, the cellular, the mitochondria can't
handle it,
work with that mismatch.
Yeah.
And so it is sort of creating a vessel or a vehicle that can handle the highest amount of energy available. And this is what you're talking about with the clearing and the cleaning and of all aspects of the system.
Yeah, because you're creating a structure and that you can. And the thing is, I hear a lot of, oh, it's just a physical body. Yeah, but it's the only one you've got, damn it. What do you mean it's only a physical body? It is what it is. And the body is such a fantastic thing that it will stop working from the outside in. It will make sure that the last thing that stops working is your heart, because its goal is to keep you functioning energetically, right? Its goal is to keep you functioning. So I think you need to respect that, and that you should understand that you were given a body for a reason.
To have an experience, right? And how can you have it without your body?
Or in a body that can't move, or in a body that's obese, or in a body that's sick. It's just not possible. So your primary goal has to find a vessel that you can house your change in. And then from there, all the other change can come.
And so when we talk about choice, right? So I've heard people say, look, you have no idea if Joe decided he wanted to have an experience with diabetes and obesity and not being able to walk and having people take care of him. And the answer that I see is no, I don't know that, but I do know that we all have a choice of how we would like to experience this. And that through what we do to prime this vehicle in the physicality, we can have a thriving and flourishing experience filled with energy, love, connection, creativity, innovation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think also it's not to see illness as a judgment or a punishment. Right. Illness just isn't a judgment or a punishment. It just being that way. And there are lots and lots and lots of, I work a lot with people who are dying of cancer, who come in, for example, and they're trying to change their diet and eat more, healthier food and whole foods and things like that. And it's so interesting to see that, because you're seeing people who are saying, oh, I'll try this, or I'll try this, or I'll try this. Now, it was a big learning for me that it was none of my damn business what they did. Right. It's really hard, And so I had to sit there and accept and love them where they were. So yes, you can absolutely choose to be diabetic, but then don't choose to whinge. Do you know? Let's choose which one we're going to do. Yeah. If you're happy being there, I admire and applaud you for that. But then also that is a different journey. And I think where we are today, the universe is providing opportunity for us all to step into a much, much higher, really balanced level of energy. And you can call it what you want. You can call it ascension. You can call it, but what's happening is just the vibration is rising. That's all it is. And our vibration's rising so fast that it's burning up people who physically can't quite cope with it, which almost sounds like the definition of an illness, really. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like fever.
Yeah, it's interesting to look through this lens and to just simply widen out of many of our very restricted beliefs that we're one-time use, fragile humans that have to break addled and with somebody wiping our backside. I say that a lot. I just don't accept that humans are that or have to be that, right? Yeah. So
it does drive my children absolutely nuts, because they'll come in and they'll be like, my tooth hurts. I'm like, are you afraid of change? What is it that you're scared of? And they're like, could we just go to the dentist? I'm like, okay, but let's just deal with the inner side. And there you can see they want to kill me, because they're just like, get me a doctor. And I'm like, so let's be zen. It's like
well, and I have to say I'm like that too. I look at all aspects of my being always, right? It's like I look through a bee's eye and I see all of the little fractals of me. And so when something is a slight bit out, go, okay, what else is this about? And Dan said, well, maybe you just pulled a muscle. And I said, well, yes, I did pull a muscle, and it's about something else as well.
Because what it is why were you available to pull that muscle?
Right.
You know,
Right.
you had to have been in a state. So I'm really with you on that. I'm really, really believe that. I think all of it is about what was the opportunity within that for you to learn something. And the universe will always pick the fastest, most direct line for you to learn a lesson, brutal or not brutal, sadly.
And, it's just so wonderful to have this conversation because I think that we are all on the verge of recognizing ourselves differently, right? Expressing ourselves as humans on this planet and as a species differently. I mean, you look at how slowly we've seemed to evolve. And it seems like it's so rapid now that everybody's going, wow, I'm not even sure what's happening.
And it is, and there is a place where when there's a lot of outside change, you either give your power up to the outside change and say, okay, I can control nothing, or you take all of the power within and say, this is my environment and this is how I live. I had a friend who was a healer come by with, she was like, oh, we're looking at the energy of coronavirus and how that is and isn't and what it looks like. And it was so interesting because I didn't recognize it energetically as an illness for me. So it made it different for me, whereas there's like 50 probably that I can recognize as an illness for me. But it taught me something. It taught me that I didn't need to have my experience to be the same as anybody else's. Yes. My experience was mine to have.
And that's sovereign responsibility, right? Taking your power within to choose to create your environment internally and externally, because it's a reflection, right? What are the practical ways that you've found to be most successful for people working to raise their vibration in whatever lanes you find to be most powerful?
It's always going to start with food. Ultimately, it's going to start with food. Do cleanses, eat fruit and green leaves. Eat a lot of fruit and green leaves because it strengthens the fiber of your body. So that's one thing. The other steps are you can meditate. If you can't meditation, if you can't meditate, because lots of people go, I can't switch my brain off and I can't meditate and those things, then yoga. Yoga is a phenomenal way to actually raise your vibration because yoga actually cleans and clears your energy. Every single movement of yoga does that, weirdly. Breathing from deep beneath your stomach and breathing from there, that's incredibly helpful. Cats are really good at cleaning negative. Cats are very good at cleaning negative energy. It's one of them. You can always tell whenever I've got clients coming in, when you have somebody who's just ready to dump a lot of negative energy, cats are straight there. It's really interesting. So cats are very good. I think ritual. Ritual gives you mental stability. I'm a big fan of it. I do understand that people like systems, but I think you should treat rituals as systems.
Yeah.
And the more that you can do that, they're really an efficient and effective way for your brain to feel stable and safe. And when your body feels safe and your brain feels safe, you just fly. You literally fly. Then get out the way. The universe is here with you.
And that, so does that come down to you have a success with this and then you realize that you're getting feedback from the field that you're actually being supported as opposed to being victimized? Like so many people right now feel like they're victims of everything. And so
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that, we have a lot of writings about this from Abraham Hicks to lots of other people about how you feel and what that does and where it takes you. What I can tell you without any shadow of any doubt is that the power to make anything happen and not happen stays within you because you choose how you react to anything that happens. That reaction is what raises your immune system, raises your vibration, or lowers your immune system and your vibration. Right? So I feel deeply powerful because I don't feel a need to give my power over to someone else so that they can decide whether or not my life will work. I didn't, and as an Indian woman, I've had to work incredibly hard to even be able to say that sentence, because the cultural norms of my community, let alone being female and being an Indian female, was like, shut up and do what you're told and smile while you're doing it. It's kind of where I come from, you know. So it has been a big learning, and it has been a fascinating learning, because my power comes whether I'm butt naked or I'm standing on a stage. So what I find that the feedback loop that I get from the universe that is now working incredibly well for me is that I take a step in my mind, one step forward, and I imagine the emotion I want to feel at that stage. So I do a lot of political stuff. Like I go on big stages and there's like, you know, million people, and I'm just thinking, oh my God. And I used to write speeches and I hated them because I sounded idiotic. So then I changed that. And I did. You sound so stilted and stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, but it's scary because there's a million people. So what I started to do instead was exactly this. I would think to the end of the speech, the end of the TV, because I go on a lot of adversarial political shows and things on TV. And I think to the end of the show and the end of the speech. And I think I come out and somebody goes, oh my God, wow. And I'm like, right, I had the best time. That was so good. And it did exactly what I needed it to do. It did this. Oh, yes. And I'll pick that emotion and use that to walk into the occasion. Mm-hmm. And it is unbelievable. I have like a 99.9 success rate on that.
Right. And we also find that to be in our world as well. Outcomes are simply exactly the way we know them to be. And it hasn't always been like that. You know, I was in that same place of Colonel Stilted. Everything was very by the, you know, this automatic nature. And there's
you've shifted amazingly, right? You went from rigid to flow, which is just incredible.
It was after retiring after 30 years. You get out, you get out, and now life is magical, and you go, wow.
Like, how amazing is this? I went from suppressed to powerful, submissive. Not even suppressed, submissive to powerful, which is another place entirely.
And I just love, Geeta, that you share this wisdom that we have the control within ourselves as long as we pull that inside, and then we take the actions from a place of what would you say? Would you say the heart mind, or is it the gut heart mind? I mean, I know it's the whole system, but where do you sense that somebody could pull all of this into? Like,
you mean like to create a alignment? That's a really good question, Mikra. I don't know. I've never worded it, elucidated it before. I think it's probably gut, heart, mind axis, isn't it? Because it becomes the gut, heart, mind. But the thing is, like with women, you have to add in the throat, because our voices are such a big thing for us, you know. And with men, you almost have to add in the spine, because their strength is such a large part of that.
I love that. Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So it's just, I've never seen it like that. I always just think body, mind, spirit is kind of how I see it, because that's how I see it. But I think for men and women, it is so different, because for men, it is so much about the strength and the power. Mm-hmm. And for women, it is so much about the voice and the expression.
And that you did that. Yes.
Yeah, so it's different.
Yeah, and then you know what I always found when I trained the commanders in the military was that they go with their gut, right? Go with their gut, and it was really kind of their gut and their mind were connecting.
And their spine, you know, that's the thing. It's their spine holding them up and going in, you know.
Yeah, I love that. Oh my gosh. And now, of course, I see exactly why. I couldn't understand. I mean, I know we're all different, but it was just always amazing to me that the heart kind of got bypassed in a lot of people. And I think I also was one of those. And so I do understand that it's just something.
You're a miracle of engineering, because you literally, if someone looks at where you came from and where you are, you're the exact personification of what flow looks like. And you know, and I'm sure you're so much more beautiful and so much more luminous than you were, because the flow has provided that to you, you know?
Yeah. And I did a lot of trauma resolution after I left the military, and
I'm sure.
And I've been reclaiming those places within myself that forgot,
See, that's the thing. It is exactly that, Mikra. It is that we all have these pockets within ourselves. And that's where you have to go in and find the thing. You don't have to go over it and again and again and again, because that's wrong, because that builds more synaptic pathways. Just go in and go, I feel terrible because da 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 da. Okay. And once you've seen it, it can go.
They do.
Just let it go.
They do go. That's why I want to open new conversations in the world of trauma, because it's been interesting the way we've been doing it. I think more along the lines of that stovepipe that you first entered the conversation with, and now we can use a complex systems approach of the whole human being moving into resolution and aligning with the intelligent design of this spectacular thing.
And it's called spiritually, it's sort of called ring pass not. Because in the old days, you could go through with just one thing working. But now you can't go through unless all of it's working. So you cannot pass. So exactly what you're saying. You want to bring it all together forward at the same time. Without that ability, there is no change, because it doesn't last. It's not grounded. It's not housed in your body. And it's not displayed in your minds and used in your emotions. It just isn't.
And I
love that. I think what you're doing is amazing.
Yeah, we're having so much fun, aren't we?
It is definitely not boring.
Well, thank you so much. And I have your website that I would love to share with everyone.
Nosh, you. Yes, it's nosh.com. Oh, I like that. That's so cool. That's pre-organized.
Yeah, you've done so many amazing things. You know, I know we haven't talked about any of your nonprofit work and your philanthropy, but I so appreciate you taking time to share your wisdom with our listeners and perception around this energy that we are, because that's been a bit of an interesting topic, hasn't it, in the past?
Yeah, it's utterly my pleasure. Thank you. I'm so honored, because this is something that I care deeply about. It forms 90% of my day-to-day life, is managing and husbanding my energy in a place where it is at its peak, you know? So it's something that I love. Thank you for letting me talk about it.
My pleasure. Love you.
Thank you. Bye.